I'm 16, female. I'm in high school right now, and I have had a pretty bad run recently with my stepmother to be. My biological mother passed away when I was 6 years old, and even though I was very young and all the memories that I have of her are very hazy, and I don't remember her too well, I do remember that my dad and I loved her more than anything in the world. She was pretty much my best friend when I was a kid, and the time that I did spend with her, I'm very glad that I got to be her daughter for the short time that she was with us. My dad was very depressed after my mom passed away, and even though he tried his best to hide it from me, I could tell that he was suffering, and so I did my best to cheer him up and be a good daughter. And I guess my mother's passing brought us closer together, and the position that my mother held in my life before she passed away, the position of a best friend and a confidant, was taken over by my dad after she was gone. He took over the roles of both a mother and father quite seamlessly, and I'm very grateful that I had a father like him, and he never let me down on any front. He was always there for me growing up, and even when he was busy with work, I never felt like I would not be able to go up to him and to ask for advice or even just to talk. He made sure that I always felt that he would be available for me no matter how busy he seemed, and that really stuck with me. I guess what I'm trying to say is that he was a great father and he never let me down. So when 3 years ago he started dating Emily, I was very happy for him because I believed that he deserved all the happiness in the world, and I was glad that he was finally moving on with his life. I was not insecure or whatever like other kids might have been, had they been in my position, but I was actually quite supportive of his relationship with Emily because I wanted him to be able to move on and live life to the fullest. He had already done a great job being there for me after my mother had passed away, and now I wanted him to be able to be there for himself as well. I guess it was pretty surprising for most people in my family who are the age of 13. I had such shorted opinions and they all appreciated me for it. But for some reason, I felt like the one person who did not like me at that point of time was Emily herself, even though I did not have any problems with her. Emily and my father had met through common friends, and after a couple of months, they had introduced each other to their families. And the very first time that Emily had met me, she had been sweet enough to me while my dad was in the room. But as soon as he left, I felt something shift, and even though at the time I did not understand what was going on, I feel like now I can say for sure that her behavior towards me suddenly changed, and she seemed a little more indifferent. And as soon as my dad was back in the room, she was back to being all nice and friendly. I thought it was a bit weird, but I was just 13 and I thought that maybe I was just overthinking it and did not pay much attention to it. And that is the kind of behavior that continued for the next couple of years. And I never spoke up about it because it was not a big deal to me. I couldn't exactly make a big deal out of something like that either, because all she was doing was pretending to be nice to me when my dad was around. But when he was not, she was just being indifferent to me, and it was not a bad thing, but it was not a necessarily good thing either. My dad seemed happy with her, so I did not say anything. She had moved in with us after a year of getting with my father, and it was really weird living with her because she worked from home, and as soon as I would be back home from school, it would get really awkward and tense because even though we lived in the same home, it was like she was ignoring me on purpose and pretending like I was not there. She would keep her interactions with me to a minimum for as long as I was at home, but then as soon as my dad would come back home from work, she would turn into a different person altogether and would act like my best friend in the whole world. I thought it was really weird, but then again, it was not like it was impacting my life in any negative way whatsoever. So I just played along and never said anything about it. It was like an unspoken agreement between the two of us that we would never bring this up for the sake of my father's happiness. But I realized pretty quickly that she and I were not close, and we never were going to be close either. And I was genuinely fine with that. That's how we spent the last few years living together, and my dad never really got to find out that she and I barely had any relationship at all, and believed that we were close because of the way she portrayed our relationship when he was around. Anyway, they got engaged a couple of months ago and were supposed to get married last week, but it did not happen because of me, and I still feel kind of guilty about it. So, what happened was that Emily pulled me aside about half an hour before the ceremony was about to begin and told me that she did not want me to be present for it because she thought that I looked a little too distracting and it would take away from the beauty of the wedding. She told me that she had hired professional photographers for the event and she did not want me spoiling the scene by being present in it, and told me that she hoped I would understand. I was a bridesmaid and she had only appointed me as one to please my father, but I know that she did not actually want me to be a part of the bridal party at all, and I had only agreed because I knew that it would make my dad happy to let me be a part of the wedding. I also knew exactly why she did not want me to be a part of the ceremony at all, and why she did not want me to be photographed. Just a few months ago, I had been bitten by a dog on my face, and it was quite an unfortunate incident, but I was to blame for it. I have a habit of petting dogs anytime I come across one, and a few months ago, I saw a woman walking her German Shepherd, and I crouched to pet him, but I guess I spooked him somehow, and he ended up attacking me, and my nose and cheeks got the worst of it. Because it was at the level of his mouth, I had to be rushed to the hospital, and it was all really scary, but I'm fine now. And all that's left of the attack are a few scars on my face because of the surgery and everything. But they are healing, and while I don't know if they will ever go away entirely, they are fading slowly but surely. I had a really difficult time dealing with the fact that these scars would be on my face for a really long time, and I was very insecure about it for the longest time. But my dad convinced me that I looked really cool, and it was a mark of my bravery now, so I don't need to feel bad about it. And I guess that helped me deal with the fact that my face is no longer what it used to be. Most people have been supportive of it and have tried to make me feel better, but Emily was definitely not one of the people, and while I had always known that she was the superficial type, I did not expect her to act like this and make me feel bad about myself on purpose. I was very offended when I was told by her that she did not want me to be present at the ceremony, and I asked her straight away if this had anything to do with the scars on my face. She did not even have the courtesy to hesitate before telling me that she actually felt like my face was very distracting and hideous at the moment. She did not want that showing up in her wedding photos 10 years from now because it was really ugly to look at and it would ruin her photos. Hence, I needed to clear out, and I could not let my father know about it either because then he would get mad at her, and that was the last thing she needed on her wedding day because she was already so stressed out from planning everything and making sure that everything was going smoothly and perfectly. She actually expected me to clear out and stay away from my own father's wedding because she thought that I was not pretty enough to attend anymore. It was so ridiculously entitled and inconsiderate of her that I decided that I was going to finally tell my dad about everything that day, and I didn't even care that he was going to get married because it was clear to me at that point that Emily was not the kind of person who deserved to be with my dad, or even breathe the same air as us. But I did not want to do it in front of her, so I told her that I completely understood what she was talking about and promised her that I would stay away from the ceremony and would come up with some excuse to tell my father so I would be able to explain my absence without getting her in trouble, and she was stupid enough to fall for it, and actually thanked me by saying that I was doing her a huge favor and she did not expect me to be so understanding about all of this. But I really was very mature for my age. I just laughed it off and then left the room. We were all staying in a hotel because the ceremony was going to be held on hotel property, and after I left her room, I decided to go back to my room and call my father immediately to tell him everything. He was already out of his room and was downstairs where the wedding was going to be held, and I did not want to waste my time going up and down looking for him. So I just decided to call him, and I knew that I was the only person whose call he would actually answer, even when there was just half an hour to go before the ceremony was supposed to begin. And just as I had expected, he answered my call on the first ring, and I immediately launched into my story and told him everything without even waiting for a response or pausing. I told him everything, including the way that Emily had been treating me for the past couple of years and how she had been faking the relationship that she had with me, just to be on his good side. But in all honesty, she had no idea about me and was not even interested, and I was pretty sure that after she got married, she would drop that act as well, because all she wanted was to be with my dad. But she did not care about me, and she did not care about being a family either. That was for sure. I told him that I would not mind if he went ahead with the wedding, but I just had to tell him the truth before he did anything. He did not say much to me on the phone call, and all that he said to me at that point was that he was thankful that I had told him the truth, even though it was literally just minutes before his wedding. But he knew what he had to do now, and then hung up after telling me to stay in my room until he told me to come out. So for the next couple of hours, I had absolutely no idea what was happening. And people just kept texting me to ask what was going on and what was taking so long for Emily and my father. But those texts stopped coming after about an hour, and everything was silent. I tried to call my father, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried to call some of his friends as well, but they told me that even they had no clue what was going on. Apparently, after my phone call, he had gone up to Emily's room to talk to her and had not come out after that. The only thing that he had told them was that the wedding was not happening anymore, and that was the message that they had passed on to everybody, which is why nobody was texting me anymore to ask about the status of the wedding. And when the ceremony was going to begin, I was really nervous because I thought that my dad would be mad at me for ruining his wedding. And I kept crying in my room until he finally came to get me after almost 4 hours of waiting. When I asked him what was happening, he told me that I did not have to worry about any of it, and we were going to go home now. So then I naturally asked him about Emily, and he told me that she was not going to be coming back with us, and they had broken up. He said it without any emotion, so I did not know if he was upset about it at the time, and I still have no idea because he refuses to talk about it to me, at least. I'm guessing that he is obviously upset, but is refusing to talk about it so that I don't feel guilty. But it's not working because I do feel bad, and Emily is making sure of it. She's been talking crap about me, and I can't even believe that a woman her age can speak this way about a literal 16-year-old who is only trying to protect her father. She has made several Facebook posts, but she does not mention me by name, so I can't exactly pinpoint it and claim that these are all about me. But I know that they are, because all of them make me out to be a cunning and horrible human being, which is just really sad because I don't think I'm like that at all. She has been claiming online that I chose the last few minutes before the wedding to talk to my dad because I wanted to humiliate her and insult her in front of all the guests, and it was my plan all along. That literally cannot be true because the only reason I talked to my dad about what was going on was because of what she said about not wanting me at the ceremony because of my scars. She's also been saying that I was the one faking our relationship and that I was the one who had never made any real effort to connect with her on a human level. Now, there might be some truth to it because when I realized that she was not the same person that she was around my father, I kind of did not try to understand her or get along with her and just ignored her right back, but I thought that was just because she did not express any interest in getting along with me either. I can tell that she's very upset about all of this, and I feel responsible for it because I ruined a whole wedding. I know I have no reason to feel bad about any of this, but I really do feel kind of iffy about what I did and think that I kind of owe Emily and my dad an apology because of what I did. I guess I should have spoken up a long time before I did, and me keeping everything to myself up until the wedding made everything worse. But I'm afraid that I might be acting out of emotion, and so I wanted to make sure that I am NTA before I do anything or come to a conclusion about any of this. So AITA for telling my father about my stepmom's behavior around me just half an hour before the wedding, and getting it cancelled just because she spoke about the scars on my face and said that she did not want me to be present at the ceremony because she wanted the pictures to be perfect. Update 1. Hey, thank you so much for the comments on my original post, and I really appreciate everything that people have been saying about me. You guys are really much too kind. I have decided that I'm not going to apologize, and after what has happened, I really don't think that I should. And I don't owe anything to Emily because everything that she claims that I am, in reality, it's her who is all of that and more. My father has blocked her everywhere, so she cannot get through to him, but she can text me, so that's what she did. She reached out to me a couple of days ago and really put me on blast because of what I did before the wedding. It has been almost 15 days since the wedding, and this happened maybe 4 days ago. So a little while after I made my post here, it started with a normal text where she asked me if we could talk, and I thought, why not? Because at that point, I was still feeling quite responsible and guilty about ruining the wedding, but that turned out to be a huge mistake because as soon as I told her that she could call me, she rang me and I picked up the phone, only to have her and a bunch of her friends start screaming at me at the top of their lungs and calling me the most horrible names they could think of. This went on for about a minute and a half because I was so shocked that I could not even process what was going on for the first few seconds. This was a woman in her 30s that we're talking about right here. And I can understand not liking me, but this was literally bullying, and I was not expecting it even after all the posts. I guess I should have guessed what kind of person she was and not interacted with her in the first place, but I was feeling bad and I let that get in the way of my decision making, which was a bad call, and I realize that now. Anyway, as soon as I came back to my senses, I hung up the call, went straight to my father. I told him about the posts and the phone call, and I told him that I was really sorry for hiding it from him because he was already upset and I did not want him upset even more, but I just kept hiding things from him because I did not want to make the situation worse. And somehow it always ended up making things much worse than they were before, and I did not know how to deal with any of this. We had a real discussion about my behavior, and he told me that I could come to him with whatever problem I had and whenever I needed his help because that's what he's here for. He explained to me that he is here to protect me and that he is the parent, not me, so I don't have to worry about protecting him from anything. He also told me that I was the most important person in his life, and that was something that nobody would ever be able to change. So I really did not have to worry about irrelevant things like him being upset over something so unnecessary. He told me that he was actually happy that I had come clean to him just in the nick of time, so he did not marry Emily, because if he actually had gone through with the wedding, then things might have been much worse. And what I learned was that I should basically just stop second-guessing myself all the time and always be honest with my dad at the very least. Because if anything, he is the only person who can always bail me out of trouble, and I need to be transparent with him, both for his sake and mine. Anyway, after our conversation, he decided to call Emily up and give her a piece of his mind because he was really pissed off about the way she had been behaving with me. He did not know about the posts because he and all his friends had blocked her everywhere, so they had no idea what she was up to, and I was the only person who was still on her friends list, probably because she wanted me to see everything that she had to say about me because she was very well aware of how they would impact me. And I, like a complete fool, had fallen for all of it without even thinking about the consequences. I was kind of disappointed in myself because I had been such an idiot. But my dad had a positive spin to put on that as well, and he told me that I was not an idiot. I was just 16, and I think that's something I'm going to use for the rest of my life to explain every stupid decision that I have made around these times. But anyway, He called Emily, and this time it was my dad who put her on blast and gave her a taste of his own medicine. He texted her and asked if she was free to talk, and when she said yes, he decided to call her and tore into her for bullying me with her stupid friends, and told her that if she ever bothered me again, then she would have to face the dire consequences. He threatened to report her to the cops if she did that again, and then hung up without even giving her an opportunity to explain, because I don't think there were a lot of explanations that she could give just to justify what she did anyway. Update 2. Hi, this update is coming literally just a day after my last, because this morning Emily came to our house to talk to my father, and it did not go well. I don't know why, but she still thinks that she can sort things out with my dad and get back together with him, even after what she did to me. Obviously, my father did not even open the door when she showed up and told her to get out because he did not have anything to say to her, and he did not want to hear from her. But she refused to leave and insisted that she would not go anywhere until she had an opportunity to speak with my father. And when I told her that she was not welcome here anymore, she started yelling at me that I had nothing to do with this, so I needed to stay out of it instead of poking my nose where it did not belong. But this time I was not going to back down, because this was my house and she was on my turf now. So I yelled at her right back and told her that this was my house and she was not welcome here. So if she tried to mess up our weekend for us, then we would call the cops on her, and then things could get ugly, because we would not hesitate in having her escorted off our property. Unfortunately for her, she did not take it seriously and kept fighting with me as if that was going to get her anywhere with my father. She is such a stupid woman that she came here to fix things with my dad, but ended up picking a fight with me, something that she knew my father would not appreciate. It was obviously more important for her to defeat me rather than win my father over. And it was just so sad, because I don't know about her, but my dad had genuine love for her, and she was just making a fool out of herself by having beef with his teen daughter for no real reason other than meaningless hatred for me. After arguing with her for a bit, I decided I could not do this anymore, because she was really illogical and unreasonable to talk to, and I could not even fight with her because it was so frustrating. She kept blaming me for everything, even though it was her own fault that the wedding ended up getting cancelled. I was getting really annoyed, and I did not want to fight anymore, so my dad and I just stopped responding to her and called the police so they could take her away, because we did not want to waste more of our morning on her. She kept screaming relentlessly after that, but it made no difference to us because we were just done talking to her. After a while, when the cops finally showed up, they arrested her and took her away, but I don't think it's going to be more than a slap on the wrist for her. At least she learned her lesson now, and I hope it sticks. She was genuinely very surprised that we had actually called the police, because she had definitely not been expecting that, and it showed on her face when we came out of the house as she was getting arrested. At some point, she realized that we did not care about her anymore and started screaming at me even more loudly than she was before, which was a brave move because the cops were standing right there and she was literally just proving herself to be unhinged. She had completely lost her head, and she started cussing at me, which was surprising even for the cops. And that's part of the reason why my dad pressed charges against her, even though that was not our plan initially. But she was cussing at me, and that could not be left unanswered. Her behavior was plain deranged and pathetic, and I'm glad that she went away, and I really hope that she does not come back, because we don't need this in our lives. My father and I have dealt with enough drama for a lifetime in the past few weeks, and we are just done now, honestly. Update 3. Hey everybody, so it has been about 3 months ever since the wedding got cancelled and everything, and my father and I decided to take a trip to clear our heads. I'm on my summer break right now, and we have headed up for hiking trips, something that my mother used to love, and I love being in nature as well. So this is pretty much perfect for all of us. We have been having a great time, and I really appreciate the fact that my father and I are actively building a better relationship so that the kind of misunderstandings that happened before this do not happen ever again. Because at the end of the day, we are all we have, and he is the only family I can trust. So I need to be honest with him, and I need to tell him important things instead of fearing that something might upset him or try to protect them from things that he does not even need to be protected from. We have not heard from Emily for a really long time, and I really hope that it stays that way because I really hate her. And I know that hate is a strong word, but I don't think that it's strong enough to describe what I feel towards her. From what I know, after she got arrested, she was let go, but she still continued to talk crap about me and my father, and honestly, I don't even care about that anymore because that's just the kind of person that she is. And we are glad to be rid of her. It doesn't matter. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.